Hi, my name is Doug Ames. I am going to make another video today. As if you've seen my channel, then you probably know that I have like 3 or 4 videos. I really don't do this for money or anything like that. I just do it to help out anyone who has questions about particular tasks, as you may have seen from some of my videos. The thing that I did today was I put the ATS Diesel transmission fluid pan on my truck. I've got a 2018 Ram 2500 Cummins with a 68 RFE. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the stock pan holds very little oil. And when you're hitting, inclines, you can start losing transmission line pressure. So what I did was I did the ATS Diesel 68 RFE deep pan. And I'll show you what it looks like underneath my truck right now, actually. So when you come up underneath here, you can actually see, right, I've got the ATS Diesel oil pan underneath here. So before this, I did the ATS Diesel thermal bypass. That actually made a bigger difference than I thought it would. So I'll just give you a little review real quick. So this is pretty easy, right? You just loosen these two guys here. You will install these two prior to putting the ATS Diesel thermal bypass in. And then these actually just click in. There's little retaining clips, and then you'll pull these retaining locks over. But so I was running with my transmission with no load. I was running at about 160 degrees, just on the highway really. And then I thought that I didn't really have any problems. I'm only at about 58,000 miles. And then I was like, well, I'll just do this to prevent any further failure, because I've heard that, many of the people who have these Cummins have issues with these bypass valves getting stuck open or stuck shut, and, various positions, and causing either high temps or whatever, right? Obviously, if it sticks open, wouldn't be that problem. So I went ahead and I changed it out, and then I took my old one out and I looked at it, and I had actual buildup inside, and it had stuck about halfway. So now, right, and the same conditions, right? So it was about 70 degrees when I was running it the first time, and at 70 degrees when I was running it afterwards. And I tried a few different times to work, drive about 45 miles each time. And I noticed that I'm running at about 125 degrees now. So I guess it was affecting my truck. I obviously wasn't at the high end where it was a problem, but under load, I guess I probably could have started pushing it higher up in temperatures, but I had enough flow to where it was not that bad. But as for this oil pan, it's actually really nice. So some of the things that I think are like definitely questions that I had when I bought this was, does it come with extra hardware, and does it come with a new gasket? And the answer to both those is yes. I actually bought an additional oil pan gasket because I couldn't tell what it came with. So this comes with it looks like a thick cardboard, honestly, but it's actually a pretty durable gasket that goes inside here, and when it starts to touch a little bit of oil, it foams up hardcore, so you don't have to use any of that RTV. And it comes with all the new mounting bolts. I don't know if you can see those guys. Those are all brand new, all the way around. These are Allen keys, so that's pretty cool, because the old ones were just the standard nuts, and they were pretty rusty. Well, these ones, who knows if they'll rust, but the rest of the pan looks pretty nice. So the process to change this guy is relatively easy. So I'm gonna go over here to my instructions. I actually laid a giant tarp underneath, and I set up my my catch, and I just use this big pan to catch everything. And so what I did was, this is the old pan, as you can see, so we're looking at this guy from underneath. So what I did was, this is the front of the pan and this is the rear of the pan. I took all of the rear bolts out and then left just these front ones. I took a rubber mallet and I gently tapped all the way around until it just started leaking out, and that was the only way I could keep it in a controlled way without spilling it literally everywhere. And I put it in this big pan that I got from Walmart, and I just slowly let it drain for a little bit. Then when the flow rate started to slow down, I just went ahead and took the bolts off, and the RTV was still kind of holding it, so I knocked it off, and then I drained it all into here. Now, the longer you wait, the more oil you're going to drain out of your transmission, and the more you need to be able to have to make up. So some of the questions that I had when I went to go do this project, right, was like, what tools did I need? Because there's really not a lot on the internet about it. And when I bought that thermal bypass kit, it came with a little like coupling piece, and it was silver, and I was like, oh, what is this? You know, and they kept telling me there was this plastic piece in the truck that this piece would, you know, crack over time and you'd lose transmission line pressure. So I was like, well, okay, you know, I'll figure out how to do that. I didn't actually figure it out until I dropped the pan. And I looked at the transmission filter. So I pulled the transmission filter, and there's a little piece, the threaded piece that goes into the transmission filter, not on the transmission side. That's what you take out. Now, some of the tools that I ended up needing that, you know, I didn't realize ahead of time, just because there really wasn't much information out there, was, right, so you're gonna need your torque wrench, obviously. You're gonna need a set of large Allen keys, as you can see here. The one I ended up using was a 12 millimeter. The 12 millimeter was what I used to be able to replace that coupler. So that's the size of the little coupler that goes in your transmission filter. It doesn't take hardly any torque. The instructions tell you, I think it's like, honestly, like 3 foot-pounds or something really, really small like that. But this is what you need to be able to take that out. So make sure you have one of those on hand, right? You're also going to need, I don't actually remember what size it was. I want to say it was 3/16 Allen key. And that's what I used for all the fastening bolts. And then, right, you're gonna need an extension because it's a really, really deep pan to begin with. And some of the things that I learned along the way, right? So I had to go get a whole bunch of AT4 to be able to put in my transmission. And that was actually kind of inconvenient. So I was only able to buy so I purchased 2 of the gallon jugs from Advance Auto, and then that was all they had. So then I went to Walmart and I got, you know, 6 of the other quarts. So the instructions will tell you, right, you immediately fill 2 gallons worth into your pan, and then you start your truck, let it run for a minute, and then immediately put 4 more quarts into it, so another gallon, and then that's when you cycle through each of the shifting options. So, you know, park, reverse, neutral, drive, and do that a few times. Don't let the truck move the entire time you're doing that. Make sure you're on a flat level surface, and then add more. So I ended up only having to add about half of a quart afterwards. So that's, you know, that's good. And now that I have a drain plug, I can change it all the time. So that's pretty awesome. And like, you just fill it through the dipstick tube, because it's literally just a tube that goes straight down into your pan. Now, the longer you sit there, right, and whenever you pull that transmission filter out to replace that little coupler piece, that's when it starts really draining the upper portion of your transmission, where that whole torque converter and everything is. Up until that point, it really only drains the bottom of the pan, and it slowly trickles out the rest, but really, like, it's not going to drain that much from the rest of the transmission, because there's kind of like a fluid lock on it, on the system, and kind of like keeps like a vacuum. When you pull that transmission filter, that's when it starts draining kind of quick. So just whenever you're ready, right, do it kind of quick so that you don't have to waste a bunch of fluid, unless you're trying to flush it, you know, in which case then that makes sense. But I wasn't, because I just changed my fluid only about 5,000 miles ago. So the filter and everything were good for me. One thing to note, in case you guys go to Valvoline, because I was doing it until I got this new pan in, they weren't cleaning my pan, which was pretty annoying. So you can actually see this is pretty dirty, and then this guy right here, look at this. It literally changed my fluid at like, I don't know what it was, 45,000, 50,000, unless my transmission just produces that much gunk, which I guess is possible. I really don't know. I guess we'll find out the more I do it, because the new drain plug has a magnet on it, so I'll be able to tell. But yeah, look at all that gunk. That's craziness. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about this project or anything that has to do with it, feel free to ask. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. One other thing that I learned along the way is that transmission oil filter. When I looked it up, it was like 64 millimeters or something like that. I ended up just using an oil filter wrench, you know, like one that you could use for all sizes. And I just really gentle on it, guys, because that thing is really soft. So just be careful with it, because it's a weird size, and it's not something I've ever used. Like for my motorcycle, my truck, they all use the same size oil filter wrench, except for that one, which is significantly smaller. But yeah, some other projects that I've done since my last video was I did the Whirly custom short tube intake. That's pretty cool. I got it powder coated illusion blueberry, and I did a CCV delete with it. Bloop. That little guy right there. As you may have noticed, I'm missing some components. May have fallen off. A review with this guy. So just, you know, things I figured out after the fact. The intake, awesome. The filters, everything, you know, cool. The only downside of this is like Whirly Custom doesn't have any reusable filters for this tube. So you'd have to buy them from a different company. I replaced this filter, but it kind of sucks because I think they're like 65 bucks or something ridiculous every time you have to replace this filter. That's a real bummer whenever you have to do that. The next thing I'm doing, I've actually already ordered it, is I am, oh yeah, another part fell off, so I had to make sure there wasn't gonna, you know, no air was gonna get out of here. I'm actually gonna replace this air intake elbow with Banks's new air intake elbow, the one that they got for with the grid heater delete and the heater coil up in the end of it. Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about it because I saw the Monster Ram intake and I was all for that until they came out with this new one. And I was like, oh, this new one's pretty cool because, you know, it gets rid of the grid heater and it's got a heater coil built into it, so you can still have the grid heater option, because right now I'm stationed up in the north with the Navy, so, you know, there's that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, or you'd like to see a video, or at least have me talk about something, feel free to throw it in the comments. Like, I'm not like a huge dude on YouTube or anything like that, and I don't really get that active, so I'm kind of slow to respond to things. But, you know, if you're not in a hurry, I'd be more than happy to help out with whatever I can, because all the videos I watch on YouTube tend to help me. So yeah, if you like the video, feel free to like it, and comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.